Hello there, nerds. There's another developer update coming out regarding the next big patch in DBD. So this should be interesting. As you all know, we got like the Resident Evil chapter. We know everything about it, basically. We know the killer, we know the perks, we know the survivors. And the things, how they were in the PTB, had some very interesting effects, to say the least. So first of all, nothing to do with the PTB. They reduce the blood web costs. And they do so by roughly 33%. So there's a chart. You can either freeze frame that or look at the patch notes themselves. Everything is getting a little bit cheaper. They decided to do so instead of improving the amount of blood points that you get, because they say the blood points you would get through, for example, quests or tome thingies would give you more value too if they just reduce the cost of everything. I would say that's a good thing, just universally. I cannot see anyone complaining about having to pay less for shit. So that's good, arguably, easily. Camping and tunneling, the base kit BT gets increased to 10 seconds, and on top of that, you also get a stronger haste effect from 7% to 10%. So you're now the same speed as a hag, a trickster, a huntress, you name it, for 10 seconds. Which is arguably pretty strong. We kind of have to mention that some of the better killers at camping are ranged killers. Huntress and Trickster both are absolutely fantastic at camping, so this extra 10% might help at least a little bit. Versus Baba, I don't see it doing that much. Well, I guess it would. It would kind of guarantee a trade if the Baba is a bit late or something. Metal of Man got changed in the last patch. It kind of, I don't know, man. It was a bit of an in-between thing because it also seemed very buggy. Sometimes it activated, sometimes it didn't activate. I actually tried quite a bit to get value out of the new one, but it seemed very inconsistent when it would activate and when it wouldn't. So it was something like you got the 2 stacks, but then you needed to get healed to make it activate after you get injured again, but then you didn't lose it while sitting on a gen, and sometimes it also activated while still being injured. Overall, just it seemed buggy and awkward, and either they didn't want to deal with that, because the way it worked sometimes was pretty good, they're just rolling it back. But it will no longer be endurance, so it will also no longer cause the extra effect. So we will have old Metal of Man back. Not a good thing, not a bad thing, that's okay, I guess. Now we got post-PTB changes regarding the patch itself. They did a lot to Albert Wesker's collision. First of all, he did not injure people that were about to vault, which arguably was kind of weird. That will now happen. His collision got toned down a bit, so it's harder for him to get collision on objects that he doesn't want to. I wonder if that allows us for something like a huck tag on him. That would be amazing. I'll certainly try that. And at the other side, hitting a survivor also has a little bit less of a, it's harder to hit them than before. Before he had an insane AoE on hitting survivors. So that should be good in general. On top of that, between the movement speed between bounds, so you had 2 charges of your dash, got increased a little bit. And the add-on that made it that you would be faster in that area would also was toned down a little bit from 20% to 8%, making him a total max speed of 3 meters per second and toning up from 2.3 to 2.76. On top of that, if he now flings, throws one survivor into another survivor, they will have deeper wounds to make it more obvious that they're injured. That's a bit of a weird argument to make, especially since deep wound is such a meta breaker at the moment. I'm not sure if I think that's a good idea, but at the same time, he doesn't have any map mobility, so I guess it's not a big problem. So there's perks now. The reassurance perk was probably the most talked about perk in the recent patch, because the way it basically deleted camping out of the game. And honestly, I would have loved to see that go live in the way it is, just to see what happens, right? What happens to DBD if you literally cannot kill a survivor anymore by camping? I know that sounds like every survivor main's wet dream. And honestly, even as a killer main, I would love to see it go live that way. Because that also would require 2 survivors to stand there and just wait, which is interesting. And if we notice that kill rates go down, maybe we have to change something about the game itself if camping is the only valid way to get people dead, right? So arguably, I would have loved to see it the way it is. However, they removed the cooldown and made it that you can only use it once per hook, which makes for a maximum delay of a hook stage of 90 seconds. So it's 2 minutes and 30 seconds maximum hook time now, with 3 people stopping by and using reassurance. This still is massive because those 90 seconds are literally the time of a gen. If only one person stops by, you already have the time of a gen on hook. So pretty decent, I would say. I'm also really interested in what will happen to people that, for example, decided to just play a Baba, get first down, camp to death, and so on and so on. Another interesting thing to consider is that it only works once per hook instance, not once per hook stage. That means if a Baba decides to camp you from like full HP to dead, you can only get 90 seconds extra and not 3 minutes extra. So going for a trade late in might be worth it even more. Especially with the extra BT speed and the extra BT duration that you have base kit. Awakened Awareness. That was a perk that lets you see survivors while you're carrying someone. This perk got a little bit weaker. The lingering effect of seeing carried survivors is gone, and Lethal Pursuer will also no longer extend the duration, which is arguably trying to get rid of the of the Stealth Struck and Awakened Awareness combination. Overall, I don't think that combination was too problematic. It's only problematic when you take into account Nurse. But I guess we can all agree that Nurse always makes things problematic. And the solution to that is as simple as can be. Just make blink attacks special attacks, and all of a sudden, all the Stealth Struck issues are gone. Low profile, that made it that you didn't have any pools of blood or scratch marks for 90 seconds on tier 3 the moment you're the last survivor. So that's kind of a shit perk, arguably, because it can only happen once, and it can only happen if everyone's already dead. And then you might rather run left behind. So they changed it. So now it will have a built-in Iron Will, so no grunts of pain, and it will always activate when you're the last survivor standing. That means not the others have to be dead, but if they're hooked, if they're slugged, you have that effect. So it's actually pretty damn good to like make a killer break up a slug, or to get someone up, and the killer might not see you. So strong perk, kind of an anti-slug perk now, and kind of a comeback mechanic. However, high risk, high reward. The perk doesn't give you anything outside of these situations, and that's kind of good. It's like specializing in one specific thing. That's cool. You could run that. Better Than New gave every survivor you healed an extra 6% action speed to repairing, healing, chest opening, and totem cleansing for 25 to 35 seconds. They found that that wasn't used much because the duration was not long enough, which kind of makes sense. I mean, you get healed for 16 seconds, then you waddle to the next generator, and you, I don't know, maybe get like 1 second more out of it than you would have. So now it doesn't, like they removed the time frame. You will keep that Better Than You effect. However, they removed the repair action. Also on top of that, the action speed got higher, right? So you got 16% action speed on the highest level, but only to healing, chest opening, totem cleansing, and blessing, no longer repairing. And I think that's not even a bad thing. It will stop the moment you got hit. So the moment you're not healed anymore, this bonus is gone. I'm not sure if this will see any play, but I mean, instead of that, you can just literally bring leader and you will have a stronger effect, but someone needs to be around. Okay, fair enough. You could bring like any heal speed perk. I don't know. I don't see this, but at least it has some use now. For the Resident Evil map, they removed the amount of pellets. That's good, because the amount of especially God pellets was absolutely bonkers. And I'm glad they changed it. So generally, sounds like a pretty decent change to things. Let's see how things play out. So thank you for watching. See you next time.